Hi everybody, good evening, namaste, hola, bonjour, and marapan. This is Namya Joshi, your host for the day. Welcome to another live stream and the 14th episode of my podcast, Each One Teach 10, an amazing world of STEM, an inspiring venture where we'll be discussing that STEM is part of every day for every kid. We also will be discussing how together we can build a STEM culture. And today I'm very excited because I have my Minecraft mentor with me today. So let's have him here. Hi, Mr. Stephen, how are you?
Hi, Namya, namaste. I'm very, very, very well, thank you. And I'm so excited to be on your podcast.
Thank you so much, and I'm excited to have you here. So, before we begin, let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Stephen Reid. Mr. Stephen Reid, in his capacity as both an education consultant and Microsoft program manager, has spent almost 20 years researching, developing, and refining curriculum content and pedagogical practices that transform learning through play for students and teachers worldwide. So I'm very glad to have you on my podcast. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. Very well. It is. I'm based in Scotland, in Europe, and it's the most amazing day. They're like no clouds in the sky, perfectly blue sky. That's why I put the blue light on. I'm trying to keep it up
Yay.
indoors, and it's just the most amazing day. So I've been out with my drone, and I've been filming the landscape, and just had a great day. So thank you.
That's great to hear. So I can see that your energy is very contagious, and our audience watching this live are very eagerly waiting to know more about the work you're doing
Mm.
for everybody around us. So would you please tell us more about yourself?
Sure. So, as you introduced, I've spent the last 20 years in education, and using technology primarily. So, my real passion is how do we use technology to teach, and not just teaching maths and science and literacy and the things that school generally teach, although those things are important, but really teaching children how to be good human beings, how to be healthy of mind, healthy of spirit, innovative, creative, brilliant human beings. People like you, Namya. I mean, you are a wonderful student, and a wonderful human being. And we need more and more and more of that. Each new generation. And so I spend a lot of my time auditing technology, then working out how it's going to work best in the curriculum and for teachers' pedagogical practice. And then I put it into the classrooms as previously as a consultant, now as Microsoft. I go into schools and work with teachers and students to say, hey, here's how we can use podcasting, animation, filmmaking, Microsoft suite of technologies, Minecraft. And my big passion, which I know we're going to talk more about, is Minecraft, and particularly game-based learning in general. How can we use more digital games to teach?
That's very influencing and motivating at the same time because many of the teachers can follow your path so that they can also use the game based learning that you're using in the classrooms, wherein they can make their classroom engagement also better, like you're doing. So you're very passionate about like a passionate advocate of both play as powerful learning mechanism and technology as a tool for learning, and you started like one of the world's first game-based learning companies, I think, if I remember, in 2005. And now like you are a leader and inspiration to many in this global field, one of me as well. So we would love to hear more about your journey from the beginning till now.
Sure. So I started off, I actually studied art in university, and I studied through the lens of art. I studied a lot of different things, including human psychology and theology and mythology. Storytelling ultimately was my big passion. How do we tell stories? And then I came out of that of university, and I went into a job in a call center, where because that's often what happens, and we come out and we work in call centers, and to try and kind of find the career that we're looking for. And gradually I went through a series of different, which too long to go into, but a series of amazing coincidences, I kind of made my way through a series of companies that led me to teaching, and led me into the education space. And everybody I met kept saying, you need to work with children. You should be working with children. You should be teaching. And so I went off and I did that. But my passion was always one of the issues I found with working in schools was very much the I mean, some people call it red tape. Some people just say that it's, the natural blockers, and, but there wasn't enough time, there wasn't enough space, there wasn't enough money. Maybe the parents wouldn't, agree. There was exams to kind of look out for. And those things are all still very prevalent in education. But for me, I was always, and it's in me, it's part of my nature, is there has to be another way. There has to be a way that we can make this happen. There has to be a way to get children to think like this, or,
yes,
and so I did. So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to do this myself. So I started a company that really focused on technology and education. And back then, it was things like very basic podcasting with Audacity and cheap microphones. And I would go into schools and help teachers to understand how using audio technology could enhance so much of your curriculum, particularly around things like languages, language learning, and literacy, and so on. But my big passion was always games. So in the background, I was a gamer. And I remember, and I'm going to take you back to my school now, there was a wonderful teacher in my school, Mr. McTaggart, who taught me. He was very playful. He taught through games. So if he wanted us to picture Europe, he would make us Europe in the classroom. He would say, okay, take this square box that we're in. Up there in the top corner, you're Britain. Just below you, these 4 tables here, you're France. And then over here, you're Germany. And we would all be like, oh, so we are Europe. I'm Britain, or I'm France, or I'm Germany. And away over by the windows, that's Russia. And the Americans are out in the corridor, because, on the other side of the corridor, and the corridor is the Atlantic Ocean. And he painted this like world of Europe. And then if we ever talked about conflict, like World War II, he would give us balls of paper to throw at each other. So the Germans would fight the French, and the Polish, and the Brits would come in, at the appropriate time. And he would tell us, here's why the British entered the war, because of, and here's why the Russians did this, and here's why the Americans did this. Meanwhile, we'd all thrown paper at each other. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I came out of that with a passion for history. I love history, hence, through the lens of art in university, I studied theology and mythology, which is, very historical subject. And I loved all of that stuff. And so years later, I tried it for myself, except I didn't use balls of paper and physical maps. I used a game called Command and Conquer Red Alert, which was an old PC PlayStation game. So isometric, top down, if you like, strategy game where you used tanks and jets and things to kind of either conquer or liberate certain countries. And I found that the children that I was working with, exactly as I had, they responded to it. They loved it. They learned it. At the end, the exams showed it, because they could tell me exactly where France was, and exactly where the capital of Germany was, and why. And even places like Trieste on the border of Italy, there's a campaign in Trieste, and the kids could tell me where this was. And so I realized we were onto something with games. So since then, I've used 150 games in over 70 countries, everything from Command and Conquer series, Red Alert. I've used the Tomb Raider series, the Assassin's Creed series. I've even used Call of Duty, a little bit of Red Dead Redemption, but a lot of indie games as well. Things like Journey, a lot of the games from a company called That Game Company. Beautiful stuff. Papo and Yo for teaching difficult things like alcohol awareness and parental alcoholism. So games have been one of the richest ways in which my journey has kind of flown. And then, of course, we're going to get on to Minecraft in a second, but the journey took me to Minecraft some 10 years ago.
That's so great to listen. The way your teacher made you as the characters, probably like Russia. I'm Britain, and this is another country. Like the corridors have Americans in there, and then you made like an innovative measure, and you took that to a game. And then your children played the game, and they scored so well marks. So
Absolutely.
That's great to hear.
And the other thing to keep in mind, Namya, was that was doing multiple things at once, because it was at once teaching me history, but it was also
Yes.
teaching me geography, because I was thinking, if I'm sitting here and France is there, if I look at a map now, a blank map, I could say, well, if I was sitting there, France was below me and Germany was over to my left, and I could start to map it. And I did. And in
Yes.
fact, that led me to go home several sort of weeks into this course. I went home and I said to my mum, Mum, I need a map for my wall. I was just a kid. I need a map for my wall. And my mum gave me money, and I went away and I bought a big giant map of Europe, and I pinned it up above my bed, and I would lie at night before I went to sleep, and I would look at all the places, and I would remember what my teacher had told me. I remembered that the Germans managed to circumnavigate the Maginot Line, and which was a defensive structure that they should have gone through, but they ended up not having to. And so
Yeah.
I learned all of this because it was gamified for me by that wonderful teacher. And so it really started. I would say he kickstarted my career in terms of how I believe teaching should be.
And if I would say, like, even my favorite subject is history, because my teacher, she used a Minecraft world
Mhm.
that me and my friends created together to explain the Egyptian civilization in Minecraft. That's
Yeah.
how, like, my interest in history became bigger and bigger, because I love to read about all the things that happened in the Mesopotamian civilization and various other civilizations, because it's mostly like the past and present and how the things have changed, because the way we used to study first and the way we study now is very different.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's great about that, Namya, is that you now have this the spirit. You now have the seed, because you've been excited by this, and I know that we're going to talk about this shortly. But you're doing great things with Minecraft, and so you're taking your learning and you're willingly. Do you know how many teachers wish that their children would do their homework? You know, they're like, oh, I gave them homework
Yeah.
and do it, or I gave them an assignment while they, this summer, and I hope that they would come back with. And some kids did, but some kids didn't. And what we're dealing with you as an example is that if you can get the children excited about the learning, they'll do it. They'll do all the
Yeah.
homework you give them because they want
Yes.
to, because it's exciting. So
Yeah.
great. Let's. What's your next question?
Yes, sure. So, like, you've used Minecraft as a tool for teaching and social education for over 10 years, and
Hmm.
I also created like some of the most impactful lessons available. So, how did you like start using Minecraft? As like you said, you used like a game that was all about teaching the British War and all, but then how like you just came to know about Minecraft?
Yeah, so Minecraft just cropped up. There's actually another amazing Minecraft artist. I think I would say educator, and he's a homeschooler actually. He does wonderful work in the homeschool space, called Adam Clark, and he and I have been connected for a number of years on different projects and different levels. And he had he'd asked me about, I can't remember which way it was. It was either I'd seen it and said to Adam, have you seen this? Or he said to me, have you seen this? And it was really just block building. There was no redstone. It was super basic. There was no redstone. There was nothing like the things you've got now, the basic mobs. Like, it was really basic.
Yeah.
We're talking 11 years ago now. We're heading for 11 years with Minecraft. In fact, possibly even into our 12th. And anyway, and I thought, oh, what's this? And I instantly knew, because by then I'd been using dozens and dozens of games. I'd used ICO and, as I said, Command and Conquer, and I'd used so many games. And along came this game where suddenly I wasn't following a designed narrative. I wasn't following a linear line that someone else had, a line of inquiry that somebody else had given me. It wasn't like, you start here, you do this, you face this person, you complete this task, you're done. This was like,
Yeah.
hey, there are no rules. You want to place a block, you place one. You want to build a
Yes.
castle, build one. You want to knock a castle down, go do that too. And suddenly, you want to carve a river into the landscape, carve a river. You want to plant trees, plant trees. And it was just like, I can do anything I want. Now, as an educator, instantly, fireworks. I'd actually been doing a lot of work at the time with a game called Little Big Planet. And Little Big Planet is, I would say to anyone listening, Little Big Planet, exclusive to the PlayStation. Sadly, I wish it had moved out of that exclusivity. But Little Big Planet is the second most malleable, creative game that you can put in front of your children. It's astounding technology. But I'd been doing a lot of work with that. I'd just finished a big course of 5 worlds in Little Big Planet, teaching children about fossil fuel formation over 400 million years and how fossil fuels are formed and so on. And it was just this in fact, it's still available on the PlayStation Network. Beautiful. And Minecraft came along and I thought, this is what I've been waiting for. The world where I can create anything in a completely 3D immersive space. This is what I've been waiting on. And so within days, I had basic maths lessons. I had a poetry lesson. I had done a first history lesson where we looked at Constantinople and the ancient city of Constantinople and the siege. And it just, within days, it was just like, this is what we can do. And then I embarked on a program called Crafting the Past, because I immediately went to the National Museum of Scotland and said, hey, we could use this to build Scotland. We could use this to build our history, build our castles and our heritage. And there's a wonderful man at the Museum of Scotland, the Society of Antiquities for Scotland, called Jeff Sanders. And, you're going to learn this, Namya, when you said you're going to do your first startup, you are going to learn this. It's a thing about life, is that there are many people that will say no. There are many, you say, hey, you couldn't fund me. You couldn't fund this, could you? No. You think this is a good idea? No. Do you have time to do this? No. And the world is full of lots of little knockbacks like that. It's why we teach our children to be resilient and have grit and determination. And I got hundreds of no's. There was loads of people, particularly around education. People were like, games? Minecraft? No. And Jeff Sanders said, yeah, right. What do you want to do? And I said, we'll do an archaeological dig. I'm going to take a building and I'm going to bury it in Minecraft. And then we're going to get children to come along and they're going to dig it up using Minecraft. So rather than building up, children are going to dig out.
That's very innovative.
It's good, right? And what they're going to find is a Roman fort that did exist once in Scotland, in a place on a thing called Hadrian's Wall. And he was like, let's do it. And we did it together, and it gave birth to this whole string of projects across not just Scotland, but Europe and the rest of the world. And so that's how I started in Minecraft. And then from there it was, hey, if we can do history, we can do maths, we can do science, we can do literacy, we can do the refugee crisis, we can do, civil rights, we can do, and we can do
anything. Yes, and like you talked about being resilient, I had actually seen a video wherein like a girl had dyslexia and she wanted to take part in the spell bee competition, but people mocked her because she could not read. So the teacher had asked her to tell me the spelling of resilient. So she mixed up the I and E's, but then she moved forward and learned, and just like the teacher told him that the way you learn is just different, that doesn't make you different from others. So Absolutely. On the spell bee, she actually won, and guess what? The word of winning was resilient.
Was it?
I was like, yeah, I saw the video.
That's brilliant.
That's so great to hear.
And the great thing about that, Namya, is, we talk about, if you're dyslexic, you learn differently, or if you're dyspraxic, you learn differently, or if you have autism, you learn differently. But the truth is, everyone learns differently.
Yes.
Everyone. Teachers have 32 children in a class, and we can assume by our education system that they're all the same, and they're all going to learn the same, and they're all going to pass their maths, and by this time and this date they should be going on to this. But the truth is, those little 32 minds that are sitting there, they're all scrabbling inside to try and learn in their own ways. Some people count with their fingers, some people count with their toes, some people tap on the desk, some people just get it, some people just mental arithmetic, they just got it. And so everyone learns differently, and we have to appreciate that as we move through our education.
And that's even like a great thing, because if everybody learns differently, we can invent different ways to learn.
Absolutely.
So that's how it becomes great.
Different ways to do things.
I wanted to ask you, what's the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to you?
You did not put this question.
Yes, it's just like a surprise question.
Okay. Oh, the most embarrassing thing. Do you want to hear a terrible story that I should not put on a podcast? I'm going to tell you. The most embarrassing thing I ever did was I ate someone's goldfish, and I didn't mean to. I feel terrible. I was just a child, and I feel terrible that somebody was being really nasty to me. Like this woman, this girl was being really nasty to me, and she was bullying me. And I don't know how I did it, but I just kind of looked at the goldfish bowl and I grabbed her goldfish. She loved her goldfish. She loved it. And I said to her, I'm going to eat your goldfish. I'm going to eat your goldfish. And she was like, don't eat my goldfish. And I put it like that and I went, ha, 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 ha. And it just didn't even
I
touch
think
me.
we.
And there
Yes.
was people watching, and I was so embarrassed. And now I've just told you. I promised I would never tell anyone that story.
Well, it was actually embarrassing, but no, it was more funny, and I can't
Well,
stop
not
laughing.
I feel awful.
I think my audience watching here might be falling off their chairs. And talking about the audience, please keep your comments coming in, and in the end, I'm going to showcase all of them. So don't worry about that. And let's move on to the next question. So let's come more upon the esports thing now. And like these have increased in popularity a lot over the last 2 decades. And also like during this COVID, we got a more chance to bring these up. And like they've become the integral part of the youth culture as well. So with tournaments and like they attract and trust from millions of people around the world, and they've like grown the industry as well in both like technology and STEM based learning. So I wanted to know from you that how esports may offer students to learn opportunities and like make their own pathways towards the different industries.
Sure. Okay. So first of all, I'm a huge advocate of esports. I think esports is an incredible way of allowing children to compete and express and collaborate and create and communicate. And there's so much richness in it. One of the things I need to start with, however, is that we need to keep in mind that esports shouldn't be considered any different than playing soccer or basketball or anything like that. And the reason I say that is, I mean, we can argue all day about whether somebody sitting on a computer is the same kind of athlete as somebody playing soccer. The answer may be yes, the answer may be no. It's subjective. But why should the enjoyment and the team spirit and the camaraderie and the communication and the collaboration and all the valuable things that come from my hobby or the hobby of millions of people worldwide, why should it be considered any different? But it is. So when you talk about esports in education, we still face a lot of people who say, oh, don't be ridiculous. That's just playing computer games, like for sport in school. And actually, I'm a big advocate of, I never talk about esports in education. I always talk about esports is, as, and for. So esports is education, esports as education, and esports for education. And I really believe that if we write this into our curriculum, if we develop ways of being able to look at competitive play, and that's ultimately what this is, we're talking about the power of play and bringing children out of their the boxes that we put them in, and giving them their space, giving them their place, then I think the children that aren't automatically sporty, I wasn't. I mean, when I was a kid, I couldn't kick a ball without it going backwards. Like, I have no idea. It's just the way my body works. Basketball, no chance. And for a variety of different characteristic reasons as well, I wasn't chosen to be on teams. I was that kid that they didn't want on their team. And so I was very often isolated. And yet my thing was, I used to go home and play the Atari, and I was really good at this game or that game. But hey, 20 years later, in fact, we're talking longer than that. So it'd be almost like, what would that be? 35 years later, yeah. We're now talking about, hey, these things have a value. These things have a value, not just in school, but that's a child's hobby, and it's legitimate, and it's real, and it's important to them, and it should be important to everyone else. So I wanted to start with that, and then moving into what about esports then? So I don't necessarily think that we need to be playing League of Legends, for example, in school. I get it. When a teacher looks at something like League of Legends and says, sorry, why would I there are reasons why you would, but I'm not necessarily the most powerful advocate of that. And so I might not have that as I might not be your argument. But things like Minecraft, if we can encourage children to compete creatively, if we can say to children, and think about this from a second, right? Instead of having the children build something fantastical that they just wanted to make, what if we asked them to make a cross section of a volcano and then label it? And in a competition, so which team does it most effectively? That team, brilliant. Or a cross section of a human eye. You know what the human eye is? We'll build it up. We've been studying it in biology for the last 3 weeks. Now let's go to Minecraft and compete to see who can make the cross section. And the reason I'm giving you these examples is because I've done it. Or what about a project that I'm running called League of Literacy rather than League of Legends?
Nice.
Well, the children read books. So they read a set text that a teacher gives them. And then they go into Minecraft and they build that book. They build chapters and scenes from the book with character arcs, and they can explain, and they have NPCs that represent those characters, and they have literacy in it. Whoops, so they write, that's my Siri talking to me. So they have, they write literacy into it using books and quills and things like that. They basically bring the world to life, the book to life. And then they can say to the teacher, I did this because my favorite character is, and I loved it when this happened, and this was a conflict for my character, etc. Again, I give you these examples because these are projects I'm running and I'm seeing the results. And so for me, esports is really important in education for two reasons. One, it brings almost all children, and we can talk about the statistics of gaming, or you can find them online. Huge numbers of people around the world game. The average gamer in the world is 32 years old, for example. The average Minecrafter is 24 years old. And so we can't dismiss gaming anymore. Gaming makes more money, GDP globally, than movie and the music industry combined.
Yes.
And so we can no longer, in fact, here's another esports statistic. More people will watch esports in America by 2021, this year, than all other sports except the NFL. So, Americans listening to this are thinking, hey, I love my sports. I love my, NBA or whatever. More people will watch esports than that sport. The NFL is the only one. And they reckon by 2025, esports will have surpassed the NFL. That's massive. And so it brings so many children to the table. And then the second thing is we can use it to, not only once those children are at the table, we can use it to bring the curriculum to life, competitively, creatively, collaboratively bring the curriculum to life, and really make children think about their literacy and how to express themselves within that system, or learn languages competitively. Like, how many people learned, you're talking about spelling bee earlier on. What if we did an esport where the winning team had learned the most words in a foreign language, English as a second language, and you win because you can prove that you've learned the spelling, the meaning, the articulation, and of 200 English words over the course of an esports competition. Imagine that. I mean, that would be phenomenal. So esports very much has a place. And I'll finish by saying, if any of our listeners are interested in using Minecraft Education Edition for esports, we've developed a whole suite of worlds called Make and Model Worlds. There's also a nectar hunt where you get to play a big bee, and you get to fly around a giant garden. You have to compete with your friends to collect nectar from while pollinating flowers. And we've also developed a framework for educators, a complete, definitive, fully researched framework that helps you to just pick that up and say, hey, I want to do esports. Where do I start? The whole journey is in this free resource, which we will link, I think, on Twitter or something, Namya. We'll put in the description of the YouTube. Let's do that. Yeah.
Yes. And I would just say that again, like you said, that esports is not as education and all, but like you said, esports is education, because any way we do it, like you said, the spell bee, or we do different competitions about the volcanoes or building the ice, it's everything about education, because volcanoes, we're learning about the lava and all. In the ice, we're learning about the pupil, retina, and in spell bee, we're learning about the words. So everywhere, anything we do with esports is everything related to education. So I truly agree with you on that.
Yeah, and the other thing is, quite often teachers will say, but help me to explain where that fits. It's assessment. Esports is assessment. If you can ask your children to create and collaborate on building something that proves that they have read and comprehended the text that you asked them to read, or they've understood the structure of DNA, or anything physical, the physics of an AND gate, get them to show you it. It's assessment. So esports becomes assessment, gamified assessment. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes. So you play many games. So which is your favorite game out of everything?
Okay, I play a vast number of games of all kinds. And I actually, it's hard to say what's my favorite because I have so many in different. I'm a believer in playing multiple genres. So quite often I will play something. Minecraft is my job. Any kids watching, if you think, when I leave school, I want a job playing Minecraft. That's my job, right? It's a wonderful job, and you should aspire to it because it's real. And there's build companies out there, and that's their job. They make Minecraft worlds and they sell them to clients, or they put them on the Minecraft marketplace. It's a real job. It's a very important and it can be difficult. It comes with its own challenges, but it's a wonderful job. But Minecraft is my job. Outside of Minecraft, I love things like indie games. So there's some wonderful indie games. Manifest Gardens is the one that I'm playing just now, which is this incredible puzzle game inside repeating patterns, and you have to work out what the pattern is in order to get to the next level. But there's a repeating feature. There's a wonderful little side-scrolling indie game at the moment that I'm playing called Raji, which is a story of an Indian princess who kind of makes her way through this beautiful landscape. Trine is another one that kind of feels like that. I'm also playing. I could bring up my Steam and I could show you. Oh, there's another one. This is on the Epic Store. I can't remember what it's called. Airborne Kingdoms. Airborne Kingdoms.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a city builder, except you're up in the sky and you build onto this huge kind of fan system. And you have to watch, because if you build too many residential areas on the left-hand side, then your city starts to sink. And it's just, there's a lot of physics in it, and it's just wonderful. And it's an indie game. I think it costs next to nothing, and I love stuff like that. But I also love things like, I can spend hours when I have it on a holiday in things like Red Dead Redemption, where I just wander around an imaginary American frontier land, and I take pictures of nature, and you can play those games. The lovely thing I love about that is that, kids can go in those games, or people can play those games and say, well, I'm going to be a bounty hunter and I'm going to and whatever. But I actually don't. I'm very peaceful, and I don't do anything like if I have to arrest someone, I arrest them. I don't hunt them as a bounty. I take pictures. I do a thing called the naturalist, where I take pictures of butterflies and then you take them to this person who gives you money for the photographs. I love it. And stuff like that is so relaxing. But really, Minecraft probably sits at the center of it all.
Yes, I'm actually coming to know about so many games I've never heard of before. I'm going to check them out for sure.
Well,
You said the gun
I'm
one.
going to ask
I
you
find
the
that
same
impressive.
thing. Well, I'm going to ask you the same question, if you don't mind, because you're a younger generation and you are the future. And what are you playing? What do you like?
I like Minecraft. Nothing can surpass that.
Nothing.
I play Among Us. I've played Among Us. I'm not much into different kind of games, because I've been since the beginning I've been playing word puzzles and all. The first game that ever made me think this is what I want to play was Minecraft Education Edition. Then slowly I came to Java during this COVID time, and then I played Among Us. But still, I love Minecraft.
I think you made a really important point, though, Namya. You said, I didn't really play games. I tended to do word games and things like that. When I talk about play to teachers, and I work with lots of teachers on just play, that play as a concept, and a lot of people think, because I play Minecraft and because people call me the Minecraft guy, it's like, oh, you must be talking about video games. But actually, quite often I'm not. Quite often I'm talking about Play-Doh and clay, or I'm talking about Lego blocks, or I'm talking about building things out of sticks, or sticking matchsticks together to make planes, or like board games. Like board games are wonderful. There's a wonderful board game. It's a French game called, and I won't say it in French because I don't know, but it's the Forbidden Island, and it's just this wonderful little card board game called the Forbidden Island. And I love board games. So, and even outdoor play, climbing a tree is play. Playing on your bike is play. And I think we could do really well in our education system post-COVID to just go back to the basics and start thinking like, and I'm talking, of course, early school, primary school, etc., young children, that's great. And we can do that. But I'm talking even for the older children, for the teachers, for the adults, for the colleges and the universities. Where are we making time to play as learning? That's really important.
True. So can you tell us more about like your Play Matters community?
Sure. So I just run a live stream. It's just me playing Minecraft twice a week. Generally, I didn't
and me watching.
And you watching, absolutely. So I run a Twitch stream called Play Matters, twitch.tv/Play Matters. And every Monday at 8 o'clock GMT or BST, British time, and every Friday at the same time, 8 o'clock at night. So it's kind of late for India, I'm afraid. It's sort of early in your morning. I do a live stream that is just me playing Minecraft with education focus. So I'll build things for education, or I'll help teachers to make a world, or this week we did commands. Last week we did commands. So I just went through all the different commands and we explored them, and we're like, what does this do? What does this do? And then this week and go forward, we're building a kind of a survival world inside a giant garden where you're like the size of an insect. And we're just finding how to make that work. I mean, I think last week we did something where if you walk on mud, you slow down. And if you walk on grass or concrete, you're okay. And it's because mud is sticky. And so we're working that out. And teachers love it. Teachers and students all tune in and they love it. And what I do is, it doesn't then go on YouTube because that's a lot of admin, a lot of time, and I can't do it. It just stays on twitch.tv for 26 days. So you get 26 days to watch it, and then and then it disappears. And I do them every week, twice a week. So please do come and join me. Everybody's welcome. And if you have requests, or you think, I don't know how to do this, or I'd like to see a lesson that looks like that, you just write to me and you just ask me on Twitter or whatever. And if I have time and if I'm able to do it, I make it part of the streams.
Sure, and I'm going to add that after this live stream in the description as
In
well.
the description.
So yes, for sure. So I'm sure like everybody watching here would love to know where they can find you on online platforms, because they would love to connect you. And I'm saying that with you, even without asking them.
That's great, absolutely, and we'll do that in the description of the YouTube video.
Yes.
We will put in my Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
it just takes a little bit time to load as after live stream, so it'll be there like after an hour or so.
Yeah, brilliant. That's great.
Yeah. So, any message you would like to give to our audience before we sign off?
Well, I would actually. There's a couple of things. One is, regardless of who's watching, whether you're an adult watching this or you are a student watching this or whatever, my real kind of message to you is play more. Get out and play games and be playful and think about where play exists in your space. It's good for your health. It's good for your mental health. Digital, outdoors, whatever. And actually, incidentally, it's worth mentioning that almost everything I do in Minecraft is also done in real world. So I never just have children play Minecraft. I do Minecraft with Lego bricks, or I do Minecraft with clay, or we go outdoors and we build something, then we come into Minecraft and we study it more digitally and stuff like that. And so just be playful, really be playful, and try in the post-COVID environment in education, let's be more purposefully, meaningfully playful, and try to kind of really take the initiative with play in our education. And then the second thing I'd like to say, Namya, is that, you said at the beginning, oh, he's my mentor. And you've said to me before, I've watched you for years. You're my icon. I've been playing Minecraft. Sorry, I've been using games to teach for longer than you've been alive. Okay. I've been using
Yes.
Minecraft for most of your life. Okay. So now,
I'm just 14. You're using it like for, I'm at 30 years or so.
yeah, well, I've been using Minecraft for 11, certainly 11 years or 12 years.
Okay. Okay.
And I've been using games for longer than you've been on the planet.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm telling you that is because what's wonderful about this is that when I started using games, there were no students doing podcasts. There were no students that would even have thought about that. There was nobody like you, Namya. There was no one that had the capability because, first of all, some of the technologies didn't exist. But secondly, it wasn't in the mindset of our young students. And here I am, 20 years later, and I'm being interviewed. Like, it's not Stephen Reid host with Namya Joshi as guest. It's Namya Joshi host. I am your guest. That's incredible. I think you're wonderful. You're my hero. You're the next generation. You're part of that next generation that won't waste the world and kill the last black rhino. You're part of a generation of kids that will genuinely save the planet and will do wonderful things and will save the whales and will get us into space. And I think keep doing what you're doing because you're a light that can be seen for many, many, many miles. So keep doing
Thank you
it.
so much, Mr. Stephen. It was like great interacting with you today. And I just want to say that I hope you apologize to the person whose goldfish you ate by mistake.
I did. I mean, we grew up together,
Yeah.
and it was awful. And I was so embarrassed at the time because everyone knew that I had eaten the fish.
It's okay, you were a child. And also, I'm going to fulfill the promise that I made. I'm going to show some comments which we can read
Sure.
together. So we have, I think this is by Pojo and Keski Human. I cannot read finish, but it's okay. It's by Poke, the foundation. Looking
Matthew.
forward for this.
Yeah.
And we have Aryan Bajaj. Hi, thank you so much for joining.
Hi, Aryan.
We have Miss Monica Joshi. Hi,
Hi,
Stephen and
Monica.
Namya. We have Miss Pranjali. Hello, Namya and Stephen. Hello, good evening, ma'am. Hi, Miss Jimmy Sharma. We also have Ashima Karbandat. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining. Hi,
Absolutely.
Nanda Kamboj. Thank you so much for joining. We have Miss Ketika. We have Miss Kathleen.
Witnessing two passionate individuals talking about their passion, Minecraft. The energy is electrifying.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you, Kovleen.
Thank you. Even subject like history can be easily understood with Minecraft. True.
Absolutely. Minecraft brings
Okay,
it
we have.
all to life.
Yes. Passion drips off my screen. Energizing. Nice.
Like the Matrix.
Yes, the Matrix. You're so good. Can you tell me a Minecraft world name?
Dun, dun, dun. Well, I am Play Matters in Minecraft.
Yes. So everybody can learn differently. Yes. It was so funny. It was very funny.
Good. Probably the fish part.
Yes. So two brilliant minds together, spellbound. Thank you so much for joining.
And actually, the woman before that, Amanda Pickard, she is one of our. There we are. Well done, Namya. Story time with Stephen is always hilarious. Amanda is one of our Play Matters community. She's there every week. We've built worlds we built phonics worlds with Amanda. She's based in Scotland and does some amazing stuff with very, very, very little kids. Like you could hold them on the palm of your hand.
Thank you. Hashtag you and hear it. Hey, interesting story, Stephen, sir. We have Miss Becky Keane. Competitive play is super engaging, especially in collaborative teams where each student's contributions are recognized as valuable. Love this conversation. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And if you don't follow Becky Keane, if you're an educator watching this and you don't follow Becky Keane, do. Luke, my friend, he's also a member of the Play Matters community, a regular member of the Play Matters community and a good friend and colleague. Play matters, my friend.
Play matters. It's true. Play actually matters a lot.
It really matters, yeah.
learning with games. So thank you so much everybody for joining, and thank you so much Mr. Stephen for giving me this opportunity to have an interview with you and also making me laugh a lot. I had
Cool.
fun time with you today.
Well, you and I are doing some work together anyway, don't you? We have some sessions.
Yeah,
I'm going to be teaching you some stuff. So, Namya, I'm really looking forward to making that happen in the future. So, thank you so much for
same,
this
me
opportunity.
too. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for listening to this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, each one, teach 10, have a nice day, and play matters.
Bye.